The current mindset I see online is to question publishers for not making a physical game card release, right? This is the big talking point with collectors in general. Greed is a component, but I think the lack of developers with actual information from Nintendo is potentially much more relevant as to why everything we seem to see in the physical collector space right now is just negative. It's only game key cards, right? The the main thing for us to consider is most publishers don't know much more than you do when it comes to, releasing on the Switch 2. That might be surprising for some people, right? But sure, very large publishers with AAA releases have the most information available to them, right? But sort of any smaller than that, and especially indie developers, right, they're almost entirely in the dark. I would say some even some larger studios are, still putting the pieces of the puzzle together, right? What are the costs? What size cards are available? What is a reasonable timeline for release? Any of these kind of questions, most developers don't know any of that yet. And you can't reasonably plan a release without that information. If you've seen a developer share inquiries from Nintendo, you can see that they aren't being provided information about sort of producing content for the console yet. This is likely Nintendo trying to sort of curb the rush of developers wanting to release on, the exciting new console. We've seen a decent amount of sort of shovelware show up on the Nintendo Switch over the years, and Nintendo likely wants to focus on specific titles by, gatekeeping a little bit at first. The truth is, most developers who also really care about physical collectors, as many of them are themselves, they haven't had an opportunity to even assess how they would financially conduct a physical release yet. Once Nintendo opens up publishing for the console further, whether that is, near to release or post-release, we should see more publishers exploring price points and business models to bring, true physical releases to the platform. This doesn't mean that they all will. Costs seem to have increased quite a bit to produce a physical cart, which will of course make things much more difficult, especially the smaller you are, the less capital you have, etc., right? And that also doesn't soften the blow of some of our favorite titles being sort of dead on arrival from a collector's perspective, but it does explain why we're not getting sort of more good news about physical games mixed in with sort of the bad. Overall, the message is to have some hope that as developers and publishers receive information about how to release on the console, we'll see a better spread between game cards and game key cards. Nearly all the developers that have made games for on the Switch 1, they don't know what it will cost them yet. And for that simple reason, we aren't going to get announcements from them yet. Once that information is available, we'll start to see more diversity in terms of physical games and not so physical games.